Child of my dreams, little light blown out, sacrificed and broken, murder carried out by a choice I did not make, leaving scars too deep to share. They don't know where they sent you. I can't wait to join.
Hello, welcome to Only God Rescued Me, my journey from satanic ritual abuse. You may have noticed we have Kardia with me today. I'm so blessed, and so are you. This is a whole different dynamic.
Yes.
Way more fun.
Yes.
Welcome, Kardia.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you for coming today. And this one is a little harder because everyone's been asking since the baby memorial, Kardia, I asked a very hard thing. I said, do you happen to have a song? And you did, but you had to adapt it a bit. And you came up with Child of My Dreams.
Yeah, so this is going to be two stories in one with the song. So if I can go back to the first version of it that I had. So I had two children, and our third pregnancy it's just such a touching story. One of my friends had lost her one of the twins when she was pregnant. And so she had to carry her other baby to full term for the last month. And so then they had a memorial for one of the babies, for the baby who had passed in the womb. And so I went to that baby memorial and was just so devastated for them. And I'd been struggling with being pregnant again. Honestly, I was very tired and obviously wanted the baby, but I was, had been in that sick phase of pregnancy, and where it's a little harder. So things like that. I don't remember what all. I just, the next day I was standing at our kitchen counter after church, and I just had this overwhelming sense that somebody had died, and I was pretty sure I knew who it was. A relative that I just figured had passed away, and I was fully waiting to hear the news that relative had passed away, and nothing happened. That was at about 8 weeks into our pregnancy, and I'd also been being made fun of for having kids as close together as we were having. And so I think that was part of it too, was just, I'd always been picked on in my life. So just, it's weary. I was just trying to do life and just couldn't get through life without being picked on for something. And so I think that might've been part of it too. But, and we were about to go see my husband's family for the holidays, and I knew they were going to not be happy that we were having another baby. And so we just weren't going to tell them. We were just going to conveniently tell them later, so we didn't have to be bullied over the holidays. And so one of my friends had one of the home ultrasound. This is a number of years ago now. So, but the home ultrasound, and she said, "Oh, wouldn't it be fun to hear your baby's heartbeat?" So she went to listen for it, and there was no heartbeat. And she had lost a baby before. And so she started crying, but I was like, "Oh, I'm sure it's fine. It's just, 12." By this time we would have been 11 or 12 weeks along. And I think 11 weeks at that point. And I said, "Well, let me go be seen." And I did, and there was no heartbeat. And so that was obviously I was just in stunned shock. At that point I didn't know anybody who'd had a miscarriage. Just never thought that would happen to me. So it just had never occurred to me. And when I was checked, my my uterus was at 8 weeks, had stopped growing at 8 weeks. And so I believe that God was very gracious to let me feel that baby go to heaven, which is very, very, very precious to me, that I got to feel that baby go to heaven. So it was right at just the timing lined up perfectly, pieced that all together later, and was deeply comforted by that, but was so grieved. And a relative during that time said to us, "Did you figure out what you did wrong, so you make sure that never happens to you again?"
Wow. Wow.
I had a deacon's wife tell me I couldn't quit crying one day and at church, and she said, "Yeah, well, we lost our third, but we didn't want any more, so it was good." That was the kind of comfort I had. I didn't have people. I had some care. I know that some people cared, but I was shocked at the lack of care for me, which just deepened my grief, elongated my grief. And here we'd been given flack for having children too close together, and now people were on my case. Well, just have another baby. And I dug my heels in, and I was like, I am going to grieve this baby. I am so grieved. Another thing that was really precious about how I lost that baby was that my husband was there when I actually passed the baby. And heaven felt this close. Heaven had always been this thought out there of God is up in heaven, and I could not wrap my mind around heaven being real. I wanted it to be real, but I could not connect with that. And God used that baby to just make the reality, the reality of that baby was real, and that baby was truly in heaven. And so God began to heal my heart a little bit through that. And so I wanted to have a memorial service for her. I did not know from proof that it was a girl, but I really believed that for various reasons, really believed it was a girl. And so I wanted to honor her. And I think maybe we had a little memorial service in our living room for her. And I wrote this song for her. And so that was such a way for me to commemorate her life. And one of the blessings through that time was that because I was not only dealing with the grief of the loss of the baby, then being blamed for it was just unbearable. And God was so kind through that time. I did not seek out these doctors. I did not go to 5 doctors. I had 5 separate doctors. I would just happen to be talking to somebody, find out they were a physician, and I was told by 5 medical professionals, 5 doctors, that there's nothing you can do to stop a miscarriage. And I'm just so thankful that God gave me that information when I needed that. So I did want to share the lyrics to the original verse 2 of Child of My Dreams, because that was my declaration over that darkness, over those accusations. I knew that I had done nothing. I didn't do anything to cause that. And I felt so angry at the people this was a pastor's wife who told me that. I sure hope you don't treat your parishioners this way. And good thing I know Jesus for real, because she couldn't have handled it worse. And so the part that I needed to change the lyrics for the baby dedication, but for that baby, the lyric said, and when her life was finished, and when it was finished, your life was done according to God's will. But when it comes to SRA babies, that is not God's will that these babies be sent to heaven at that time. I mean, you know what I mean? Like God is not willing that these babies be, that all that is involved in the making of these babies is not, if it's okay to word it that way, not his will. But what you and I have been talking a lot about is how God takes evil that is meant to harm us, permanently harm us. And God comes in, he works that for victorious good. And we get to experience his healing and his power through things that are really made to permanently take us out emotionally, spiritually, all kinds of ways. So that song was very dear to me for a number of years. Took me a while to get over, I don't think you never get over a loss of a child. But God ministered to me over time, to the point that it wasn't consuming me every day. And another thing that I think really, really made that grief exponentially harder for me was that I do believe I was very triggered by that experience, because at that time I didn't realize I had lost babies. And so that seemed to be another thing that was stirring a grief, a depth of grief in me that I didn't even understand. And it was, of course, compounded by people being extremely unhelpful through it too. So that's another aspect that I've felt very tender towards my journey, that was a grief I didn't understand at that point. So it was really meaningful to me to get to not only have this song for my baby, but also for my other babies. And it's been about 4 years since I realized for the first time that I had lost babies. I had evidence of that, had some symptoms that were clues to that, but I just didn't understand what I was running into. But I asked God to heal all the gangrene in my heart, and I didn't know what that meant. I think I've probably talked about that some on some of our other chats. But what's so neat to me about when we ask God to heal us and we trust him with what he knows we need to heal, it means he's going to show us what pieces we need to know about our life, that without those pieces, we aren't going to heal. He also knows that we're not going to probably remember everything that happened to us. And that's a mercy and grace, I think. But my prayer has been, God, please show me whatever I need to know for my healing. Whatever I need to know, please show me for my healing. But don't let me know what is not going to bring me to healing. So that's been my request, and I've been seeing God answer that over the last, I don't remember when I started praying that, but I'm 9 years into my journey of healing. So I'm really so thankful to have been able to piece together what I did, piece together with that. But God gave me a very, very precious healing with one of the babies that I lost. I was 14. Sorry. It's 14. I was raised in a very conservative, quote unquote, Christian home. No Christian home. Thank you. I was not allowed to date. I never did date. So I just want to be clear that and I want to be sensitive to other kinds of stories, but I'm just saying this wasn't like I was messing around. I'm just saying for me, like I was a very good girl. I was a very good girl, and again, I would just say that with great compassion for different stories where it's different, but that's important to me because the things I want to share come from just such shock when I began to recognize what had actually happened. I had repeated nightmares of being pursued and overtaken that were perpetual for years, and began to remember a fairly elaborate, I mean, they're probably all elaborate, but an elaborate ritual around Halloween, best I can piece together. There was a gathering, and in that case, I lost a baby boy. I felt that he was 5 or 6 months along, which then really bothered me because I was like, well, how did no one notice? I mean, I really struggled with my ability to believe my own memories. And it's like, God, how could that be? How could that be? So even what I'm sharing might sound a little sequential, but it's all so murky and hard to piece together. But I did piece together enough to grasp where one thing happened, and then I know the setting of where they sacrificed baby Joel. And God gave me a beautiful, beautiful vision. I will say that I was raised in Baptist tradition. So if you know what that's like, you don't talk about visions. So we've had some fun
Nor are you
chats about
supposed to get them.
right, exactly. So a side note on that. Another thing I've really enjoyed sharing is that somewhere along the way, I began to realize that because of how I'd been taught and so sternly taught about God, that I had at some point just yielded to I just wanted to make God happy. Just wanted to make him happy. I was going to do whatever it took to make him happy. And so I was trying to obey all the rules. And I began to hear testimonies like yours and just hear different things. And I thought, well, who are we to say God can't communicate with us? You know, there's just various things where I was like, and I began to sense I had at some point I'd been taught things, but then I had also yielded to those. And it's like, I put handcuffs on God to say, God, you have to stay with color within the lines, color within our lines. And so I told God, okay, I'm scared. I'm scared of falling away from the truth. And I don't know what's right. I don't know who to trust because so many spiritual people have blown my trust. Like I have been so cruelly treated and messed with by pastors and deacons, all kinds of stuff, enough to give me many reasons to walk away forever from the faith. But I said, okay, God, all these people have not been helpful. So I'm going to take the handcuffs off you, and you're allowed to communicate with me however you want to communicate with me. You're God, and however you want to communicate with me. So I'm so thankful. That was just a really meaningful, and I began to actually experience more healing as I quit telling him how he was allowed to operate. He's very respectful of our desires, I think. Very willing to answer what we ask him for. So that came into play because I began to let him minister to me, and he showed me a remake of what they did to me and what they did to baby Joel. And it was a beautiful, beautiful vision of healing. What had been a scene of hell became heaven. It was so beautiful. And I got to experience in a spiritual transaction with God the giving or the witnessing of Jesus taking Joel to heaven. It's just precious, really healing for me. So I was in the shock of all of that. And I asked God for affirmation. If this is all true, if they really did all this to me, because I've got some physical evidences that was done to me, but this is really big, this is really, really big. I just need to know. And I don't have many pictures of my life because I wasn't given many pictures. So I was going through my things, and just in the providence of God, happened upon one of my only photo albums that includes my childhood. And I was flipping through it just because I hadn't come across it for quite a while. And especially I hadn't come across it since a lot of stuff was coming back to me. And there I found the picture. Right there was about 2 to 3 months before they took the baby. It was enough that I could see the evidence there.
You show how your waist is in,
Yeah,
and the stomach is out.
but I had a tiny waist, and just even the way my hands were, I was oblivious. Okay, like at that stage of my life, I knew I hated myself severely. Anyway, just that I would have that to see, because I'd gone from being very, very trim to suddenly, I went through a hormonal change too, but yeah, and I've noticed in the handful of pictures, there's a up and down, and it matches so much of my life.
That picture.
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
we don't
yes,
find
that
those
time-
pictures.
No,
They get
no.
rid of those pictures.
Yeah.
Or they don't have them. There'll be no
Yes.
pictures.
Yes.
Or pictures, from the top up.
Yeah.
Not from.
Yeah. Yeah. And and again, I just want to be so sensitive to those who don't have that. But I hope that my showing that to you can also give you some sanity, some confirmation that there is evidence, even if you can't find it. There's, and the evidence of God, the witness of God. God saw. He's not deceived by their deceptions. I can't tell you how much made sense to me. My parents were just so insensitive with our miscarriage. Stuff that didn't make sense, They were always searching, trying to figure out what we knew too. Hindsight, piecing a lot together. But it was deeply meaningful to me to have this opportunity to not just honor my baby, that baby that I miscarried, but to then have, when you asked me about a song, it was like, oh, I have a song. Let me ask Jesus if there's words, because I knew verse 2 was not gonna apply, because it wasn't God's will that this happened to baby Joel and my other babies. But just one of the comforts, I really felt that God comforted me deeply with my miscarried baby and then with my other babies. And so if I can review those lyrics, the child of my, and I did change the words to verse 1 because it had been child of my dreams, little life blown out. But I changed that to child of my grief, little life blown out. Now you shine in heaven. And our babies can't worry about the troubles that they would have faced or the burdens that they bear. So I really am genuinely thankful that they're with Jesus. And someday I'm going to be there to hold you in my arms, and you'll hold me in my arms. We'll love the Lord together. I knew I wasn't going to have to worry about the salvation of those little ones. And I reference that later, that they got sent straight to Jesus. I believe Jesus escorts them straight home. That second verse, child of my dreams, little light blown out, sacrificed and broken, murder carried out by a choice I did not make, leaving scars too deep to share. Those evil people, they don't know where they sent him and our babies. And I can't wait to join you there. That assurance, absolute, total confidence that my babies are with Jesus. And also, to further blow my categories, I had a prayer time one day when Jesus let me hear in my heart, hear them, see them very briefly. And I've got a lot of them there. So I know God does not will these things to happen, but boy, does he get victory. I mean, like, just one of the things being that if I had not been awakened to all of these things, I don't know that I would have had such a hunger to say, God, can I take my handcuffs I put on you? Can I take them off? Can you really like minister to me? So the things that have been so brutally hard for me to work through have been like this really precious invitation to get to know that God will go so far, especially with SRA survivors. He really, really, really cares about us. We are so precious to him. I believe he's angry on our behalf. And that transition, that's another thing I've really, really wrestled through, is the anger, the violation of me, because I made choices. My choices were towards purity, and I genuinely wanted to honor God, and that was so violated, against and mocked. It was mocked in ways that are that will be held accountable. They will hold account for how they mocked me in that. And a lot of the anger I've had to work through has been greatly. I went through a phase of just, the more I began to grasp and realize and piece together, I was just really, beyond angry. And I think there's a sense in which that's appropriate. I think that we're not really facing the way it is if we're not angry. But I began to realize I can't stay here. This is taking my life. I can't function. And I felt like God offered, would you give this to me? And what if I give you life? And I was like, no, I want justice. I want justice because this is not fair. And it was a process of gradually like just clinging to my anger. And then at some point it's like he just kept offering that exchange. Like, what if I give you life? I felt like I can only have life if there's justice. But I began to experience giving him, okay, but it's also like, you better keep track of this, like, don't you forget, I've suffered through all this. I'm picking up all the pieces. They seem to just go on fine while I suffer. And what happened as he began to help me release that anger to him, I really feel like he's angry, and he's, in exchange for anger, he's given me joy. He's given me life, real life, real healing. And I'm again, it takes my breath away. I'm like, how did that happen? And I'm very, very aware that they may even think they're getting away with it for now. But I know I sleep at night in peace, except when I have nightmares. But I have peace in my heart. I have the assurance that he is going to deal with my enemies. That's another phrase in one of my songs that is yet to be published. You'll deal with my enemies. That's a phrase. Look forward to that one. You'll deal with my enemies. He takes personally, the message of that song is how personally God takes the violating of us. God takes that personally. And so when we give that to him, that I give the justice into your hands, he gives us in exchange. What if I offer you life? What if I give you life more abundant? What if I give you all the things that your heart really craves? You want love, you want joy, you want peace, you want patience. That's what I want. I want that. And he's given that to me through hard things, continued hard things. But he really has taken the anger, the anger that and again, I do think that's part of healing, is you do have to, I think it's important not stuff that, but to know for me, it was, God, I give you that anger. I give you the justice, the right to the justice in your time, in your way. And the other thing about that is that he knows how to deliver justice more thoroughly. I think we would think, I'll speak for myself, I would think, well, I know how to, I don't even know how, there is no, I think that's the other thing. There is no justice. Like there's no
Right,
justice we can, yes, right.
That's how it goes.
Okay.
I figured it out.
Okay. But when I really began to process that, I couldn't have even come up, I don't think, with enough I don't think I could, if I could even get the court systems to do what they ought to do, which they will not do, it would not even be enough for what has been done. But God doesn't forget a single thing. Not a single detail escapes his eye. And as thorough as he is going to be with them on their judgment, his blessing is as thorough to me.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah. He's given me more joy, more peace. The things that it rocked my world. Right? Like what you go through when you're going through this, you're in disbelief and shock and horror, can't function, exhaustion and all of that. And to go from that to, being able to be with you, have true continued peace and joy in my heart, and to treasure it. When I began to deal with the grief, it began to really heal my heart. I'd always really struggled emotionally, really had a lot of emotional suffering, and was so sad all the time. And all this began to make more sense when memories began to return to me. So anyway, that's the two stories with this, and just know that I'm praying for your listeners, because this is, I think, one of the hardest aspects of SRA, in my opinion.
And when you get hit with the baby memories, those are the ones that hit you the hardest. They lay you out the longest.
Yeah.
It is the hardest to get on top of. I mean, when they hit me, I hadn't heard of it before.
Yep.
I mean, I was not prepared.
Yep.
And it was 2 years of just shock.
Yeah.
What do you do with it?
Yeah.
You have no idea what to do with it. And you know, and the horror of, I did this. And then, you know, it's like, it takes a while to get to, no, I didn't. It wasn't my choice.
Yes. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And that's tough. And then getting to the place of, and this is horrible. I'm glad they died, because they're in heaven and they didn't have to live through what we had to live through.
Yeah.
And then you feel horrible for thinking that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that I wanted them murdered. I didn't.
Absolutely.
But that they were murdered, they didn't have to live. And I had always said the lucky ones died. The unlucky ones live. And I know it sounds horrible to say that, but to me, that's always been true.
Yeah.
This living through what we did is hell.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yep. It is. Yeah. Yeah. The blood is on their hands, on the perpetrator's hands. That's where it is.
And that baby vision of them up in heaven, they were happy.
Yes.
They were happy.
Yes. Yeah.
They were really, really.
Some of them were, it was interesting to me, because some of them, I think I've even had 2 visions of it, but in some cases they're as adults, which was really neat to me. Really touching to me, and had voices similar to my son's, but not the same.
Wow.
That really got me off guard. It's really, really precious. I remember I was raised Baptist, so I hope you can appreciate what I'm saying, because it's a pretty big deal. I took the handcuffs off God.
And you can too.
Yeah.
I mean, once we do that, we just open God up to what he wants to show us.
Yes.
God, what do you want to show me?
Yeah.
Or he'll just come in and say, I'll show you anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. His love for us is really, really real. And it took me facing these things to actually be able to grasp his love. I could only talk about God's love technically. I could tell everybody else that God loved them, but I did not feel it. I was passionate about God loving you, but I did not feel, until I began to deal with these things, I could not absorb that God loved me. I actually felt extremely hated by God. And it makes a lot of sense to me too, why I would feel that way. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
I knew about God. Now I know.
Yes.
Now I know him.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I know I keep saying this, but there's a song I'm really close. We've just been going through a bunch of stuff. We've been going through some really big, hard stuff.
Which will make more songs.
Yes. But the one I've been trying to wrap up and get out talks about the journey of not feeling loved to the point of, now I know that I am loved. Ooh. So what's that one?
I can't wait.
Yeah, that one's dear to my heart. So,
and you'll come back here.
Yeah.
To do it in person.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a delight. Thank you. And this is a hard one, and I know that, but
yeah,
I really appreciate you. I didn't think you were going to be able to make it for the baby memorial to get it put out
It took a few tries. I
without
was
crying through
yes.
the entire thing, and you did it. Like I couldn't even listen to it without crying.
Yeah,
Like,
it heard me.
how
It took
did
me a
you
couple
did
tries.
that? Just a couple tries. So I'm like, she's not going to do it. I asked her too hard of it, and I felt so guilty for asking you. I'm like, this is too hard of a thing.
Mm.
And you did it beautifully.
But it was such a gift to my heart to be able to do this. As you can imagine, it was almost a way of fighting for my babies,
For them.
to honor them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So great a cloud of witnesses, and I think of them up there. Right?
Yes, I've thought of that in other ways, but not that, not connected that with them. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, they're cheering us on down here.
Right.
So we run our
trusting.
race.
Yes.
We run our race as we learn to trust God. They're like, good job. Because they know what we've been through.
Yes.
Yes. They've been, I'm sure, filled in.
Yep.
Look what your mom's been through.
Yeah.
And look where she is with God. And they're like, oh, wow, clap.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Go, mom. Go.
Yeah. Did you see my mom down there?
Yeah.
That's my mom.
That's right. Oh, and I can't wait to meet them there.
Then we really will be crying.
Yes.
And God will wipe away every tear.
That's right.
Every tear.
Yeah.
So we'll go cry now.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much, Kardia.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
And we're going to go out continuing to shake this thing.
Absolutely.
All right. From where we are seated in Christ Jesus,
At the right hand of the Father,
the Lord God Almighty says,
the time has come for the Luciferian kingdom to be shaken.
we decree,
Let the great shaking of all who worship Lucifer begin.
your sorceries and sacrifices will not help you.
Your protection is removed. Let the shaking of the Luciferian kingdom increase. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you.
Child of my grief, let a light blown out. Now you shine in heaven, you can't worry about the troubles that you'd face or the burdens that you'd bear. I'm thankful you're with Jesus, and someday I'll be there to hold you in my arms, and you'll hold me in your arms. We'll love the Lord forever. Someday we'll be with Him together, and I'll hold you in my arms, and you'll hold me in your arms. But for now, He's holding you in His arms. Child of my dreams, let a light blown out, sacrificed and broken, murder carried out by a choice I did not make, leaving scars too deep to share. They don't know where they sent you. I can't wait to join you there, to hold you in my arms, and you'll hold me in your arms. We'll love the Lord together. Someday we'll be with Him forever, and I'll hold you in my arms, and you'll hold me in your arms. But for now, He's holding you in His arms. The weeks and years, through all my tears, I've been carried by God's grace. And when I look into your face, all my pain will be erased. When I hold you in my arms, and you hold me in your arms, we'll love the Lord together. Someday we'll be with Him forever. comes and you hold me in your arms. But for now, he's holding you in his arms. But for now, he's holding us in his arms.